was a kid, my parents always let me replace the vegetable of my meal with V8. Now, I wasn't a fan of V8, but my brothers took every opportunity to drink this instead of having to eat like a tomato or something. But as I'm looking at this in the can, there's a lot of tomatoes on here. And when I was in science class in middle school, they started telling me that tomatoes weren't a vegetable, they were actually a fruit. So, as I looked on this ingredient label, it says it is 100% vegetable juice. And so I look at the ingredients, and the first ingredient, of course, is vegetable juice. But what that consists of is water and concentrated juices of tomatoes, carrots, celery, beets, parsley, lettuce, watercress, and spinach. But my science teacher said that tomatoes are a fruit. So, who's lying to me? Well, upon further research, turns out neither one is lying to me. Because, truly, it depends on who you ask. If you ask someone who studies culinary arts, they're going to tell you one thing. But if you ask a botanist, they're going to tell you something else. So, culinary arts is the first word I asked you to define. And culinary arts is the study of food and cooking. So, if I want to study how to make the perfect steak, or how to bake the perfect cake, I'm studying culinary arts. On the other hand, a botanist, or someone who studies botany is the next word I told you to define, is someone who studies plants. So, while a chef is studying the flavor of this clementine, a botanist is studying plants. So that brings up the question: fruit or vegetable? In this case, strawberries. If you can see, strawberries. Both are going to tell you this is a fruit. We'll skip carrots. Watermelon, both are going to tell you this is a fruit. Now, tomato, I didn't have fresh tomato, but I did have some diced canned tomatoes. It's going to depend on who you ask. Because a botanist will tell you that a fruit is defined as, so this is how one way you could define fruit, is defined as something that contains seeds. Tomato contains seeds. It's a fruit. Watermelon contains seeds. It's a fruit. Strawberries contain seeds. Fruit. However, a chef, or somebody who studies culinary arts, is going to say that a fruit goes with dessert. Goes with dessert. Fruit. Ever had frozen watermelon? Dessert. Fruit. On the other hand, a vegetable, according to a chef, is savory and goes with the main course. So tomato, you put it on your burger. You put it in your salad. It's a fruit, or it's a vegetable, according to a chef. But, according to a botanist, sort of things get a little iffy. Vegetables don't really exist to a botanist. Now, a lot of people really don't like this answer, so they'll say that a vegetable, according to a botanist, is anything that's not a fruit. So that's what we'll go with, is that a vegetable, according to a botanist, is not a fruit. And those are the two definitions that we're going to kind of go with through the rest of this lecture. I also teach food skills to high schoolers, and in that class, a tomato is a vegetable. In this class, we're going to say it's a fruit. Because again, depends who you ask, depends on the context. But in this case, fruit. Because a vegetable is any part of a plant that does not contain seeds. So let's talk about some of those parts. One is a flower. And I really was going to try to get like an example of every food in front of me here at this table. And then I remembered that most of my freezer and refrigerator is like ice cream and not fruits or vegetables, like Code Red and stuff. So yeah, I didn't have that many fruits and vegetables. So I don't have an example of a flower, but if you go outside in spring, you're gonna see them all over. They are the reproductive organs of a plant, of a flowering plant. There are non-flowering plants, we're not gonna worry about those. We're gonna worry about flowering plants. And in flowering plants, the flowers are the reproductive organs. And that's the definition you should write down for flower. A seed, and if I take out a strawberry here, you can actually see the seeds. Oh, these are badly freezer burned. You can actually see the seeds on the outside of the fruit. Most of the time, they are on the inside. But all those little things, those are seeds. And they're not quite baby plants. They're more like plant fetuses. So it is the fertilized ovule of a flower, or you can call it a plant embryo. It's not quite a baby plant yet. Seedlings are what would be baby plants, and when they're a little bigger and they've actually sprouted. But a seed, is a plant embryo. Next on our list, we have leaves. And again, I couldn't find any edible leaves, but here, my coffee mug is a very poorly watered plant that I forget about in my windowsill all the time. And these are leaves. They're not edible leaves, but they're leaves. We've seen them all the time. Trees, grass, leaves. And the main purpose of leaves is that they do photosynthesis. So a definition is the main organ for photosynthesis. They're usually flat and green. And we could spend a week on how photosynthesis works and why they need to be green. We're not going to do that. Just know, leaves' purpose is photosynthesis. Next, we have the stem. We're going to come back to that. We're going to go to roots, and then we're going to go to stem, and then tuber. So roots, they're usually below ground. And the big thing that makes them different from stems is that they don't have a spot for leaves to grow. So an edible example of this would be a carrot. Now this is a baby carrot, but carrots, they grow below ground because they are the root of the plant. The purpose of a carrot is that it stores energy so that the carrot plants can overwinter. Carrots are actually biennials, meaning they grow for 2 years before they seed and then they die. So seeds, dies, the energy from its stores in the roots, the carrot, is supposed to help it overwinter. However, we like to eat it because it tastes good, it has lots of energy. We eat it. So we usually harvest them after 1 year so that it still has the carrot. And then the next year, it doesn't grow again because we ate it. Guess that's just how it works. But in nature, these would grow over 2 years instead of just 1. Alright, we're going to backtrack now to... So a definition for roots would be part of the plant usually grows underground. Does not have leaves. And this is important. So the next part of the plant we are going to talk about is the stem. The stem supports the other parts of the plant. So it's what holds the leaves up. It holds up buds, it holds up flowers, all that stuff. That's the stem. Supports the rest of the plant. Now a tuber is a modified stem tissue. It's underground, and usually it's used for that similar purpose of like a carrot where it stores energy. But it's a modified stem. And an example of this, so it's a modified stem, underground, form energy. The purpose of this, not the purpose, an example of this is a potato. So these potatoes my pantry for far too long, so they grew. These were not sitting in the light, so they were only getting energy from this potato. It's a big potato though, so it can get a lot of energy. And this here, stem, not root, stems. And it goes up, and if I planted this, it would become a potato plant. I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to throw them away, but I could. And you can see even little leaves are starting to grow. A lot of people think that potatoes are roots. They're not roots, they're tubers. Tubers, modified stems. Sweet potatoes are tuberous roots, which is another thing that we're not going to go down, but they're not tubers. Potatoes, tubers, this here, stem. Now, whoops, you might go, I could eat this stem. No, you can't. Don't eat this stem. This is no longer good to eat. This is bad to eat. Potatoes are part of the same family as tomatoes. Tomatoes and potatoes are part of the nightshade family. And the nightshade family is actually poisonous. However, we can eat the tubers of potatoes and the fruit of tomatoes. If you eat a tomato leaf or a potato stem, there's toxins in it that it probably wouldn't kill you if you ate just a little bit, but you'd probably get a tummy ache and it wouldn't be all that fun. So don't do that. Instead, just eat the part that we eat. The tuber, or in the case of the tomato, the fruit. Potatoes do produce fruit. If I planted this and left it and didn't harvest the potato, it would eventually produce a fruit, and that fruit would produce a seed, and that seed I could plant, and I could grow another potato. However, potatoes, you can also take, as you can see, it'll grow from the potato tuber, so I could take this and plant it and grow that too. But this isn't the fruit, this is the tuber. So we have talked about culinary arts, botany, fruit, vegetables, flowers, seeds, leaves, stems, roots, and tubers. Different parts of the plant. So I'm going to give you a shot of my notes. So if you missed any of those terms, you can copy down what I have written down. And then continue in on the assignment. See you next time. These are my notes. Pause it and write down anything you missed. So, I forgot to answer the oh so important question. Is tomato a fruit or a vegetable? Depends who you ask. But if tomatoes are a fruit, does that make ketchup a smoothie? No, smoothie is a culinary term. That's disgusting. Ketchup is not a smoothie.